Welcome to another episode of Brand Lincoln, where we take a look around the Lincoln, Nebraska area and introduce you to business owners and influential people in the city. We are brought to you by Perch Merch. Perch Merch is a locally owned, custom screen printing and embroidery apparel shop that also specializes in vehicle wraps, decals, and all sorts of promotional products. If your business, school, or team is looking to expand your brand, head to perch-merch.com or call us at 402-217-5212.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Brand Lincoln. I am your host, Chris Beecham, joined by my co-host, Henry Schmidt.
What up, Chris?
And producer, Joe Cruz.
Hello, everyone.
So before we get started, just would like everybody to like, subscribe, follow on whatever platform you're listening on. You can also find us on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Brand Lincoln Podcast. So today in the Perch Merch studio, we have Austin Hillis and Tony Goins of Capital Cigar Lounge, which is located at 5505 South 16th here in Lincoln. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hello.
What's happening?
You guys just look the part. I'm just starting off like, I mean, if I want to find a guy to hang out and smoke a cigar with, it's you two.
Yeah, that's about right.
So how did this happen? How did this start? Let's go to the very beginning.
Yeah,
Sure.
You start, Austin, because you started it.
Yeah, so I was going into my senior year at UNL, pursuing law school, and quickly found out the cost of secondary education. Grew up in an entrepreneurial household, literally grew up playing in my dad's businesses while he was working. And for whatever reason, I've tried reflecting on it and looking back. I think there was probably a bigger reason why Tony and I met than just purchasing a cigar store, but found Capital Cigar, and we went through and looked at it, tried figuring out, can I buy this business? Can I flip it in a couple of years and pay for law school? That was the starting focus. So this went back to June 1st, 2017. I purchased Capital Cigar Company. It was over at 56 and North Cotner at the time.
Okay, so, okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture where that even...
A lot of people didn't know about this.
I had no idea.
Capital Cigar Company was just a walk-in store.
Okay.
It was not a lounge.
Yeah, it was 500 square feet, maybe.
Yeah.
So that's what you were looking at purchasing.
Yeah.
That's what he
Okay.
did
Yeah.
purchase.
Yeah.
And then you did, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So first week owning the store, Tony rolls in. And Tony was coming in and, we were talking about cigars and asked about my name. And, I'll let Tony jump in and explain the next part. But come to find out, Tony and my father were working together at Cabela's at the time. Mm-hmm. And there's an instant connection there. And I met Tony and a couple other guys that I've kept in touch with over the years. And that's really where it all kicked off. So Tony and I meet. Capital Cigar Company moves from 56th Street to 14th and Pine Lake. That was within the first 60 days of owning the store. So the focus was moving closer to the clientele. So we wanted to move down there. We expanded the store. We went from 500 square feet to 1,400 square feet. Spread everything out. I mean, Capital Cigar Company at the time had one of the best selections in the state.
Yeah.
Ton of cigars, a wide variety, different type of cigars you couldn't find anywhere. So it had an established customer base. People were coming in wanting to purchase cigars on a recurring basis. So at that point, Tony and I started connecting, and I was a student, didn't know much of anything, even though I went through 3 years of business school, and I was just constantly running into things I didn't know how to overcome. Like every small business. And I reached out to Tony, I think it was the end of September the same year, and said, hey, Tony, I'll give you cigars, whatever you need to buy your time, just to come in and help advise me as to what we were needing to figure out to continue growing the company.
Because, Tony, you were just a regular customer at that point in time?
Yeah. Well, I was actually a customer of the previous owner, a guy named Don. And ironically, I just went in to buy some cigars, and I saw Austin behind the counter. And I said, where's Don? He said, well, Don's no longer here.
Don's gone.
Don's gone. Don's adios. So I'm like, well, are you filling in for Don or what? He said, no, I'm the new owner. I said, you're the new owner. He was 21.
Yeah,
I
just
said,
a
man,
kid, yeah.
I said, you got to be kidding me, man. I said, I can't believe Don left. He didn't say bye. I said, where's Don? He said, I think he's in Florida somewhere. Don was out. Yeah. So like Austin mentioned, when he said his last name, Hillis, I said, are you related to Jeff Hillis? He said, yeah, that's my dad. I said, man, I work with your dad, man. And, at the time we were in a scenario where we were having to sell Cabela's. It was a lot of stress. And I've always said that people really show themselves during stress. Like, everybody looks good when things are going well.
Yep.
You find out real character when there's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. People throw other people under the bus and all this kind of stuff. So we started to see that at Cabela's, with the exception of Jeff Hillis. He was always upright. He was always straight. He never got into any of the gossip, and I was always impressed by his dad. So, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. So, to Austin's point, when he called me and asked me, because he was talking to his father, and his father said, well, I think Tony knows a lot about cigars. So he called me and asked me to kind of help him grow the business. And it was a point in my life where I really wanted to become an entrepreneur. Well, now I'm not really wanting to become an entrepreneur. I just wanted a place to smoke some cigars.
Yes. Two birds, one stone, though.
Yeah. I mean, no place to smoke cigars. So I said, why don't we do this? I said, instead of me just mentoring you, why don't we create a cigar lounge? And I said, the only thing we need to do, and again, I'm telling you, this was very self-serving, because there was no place in Lincoln, there was not a lounge. No disrespect to Jake's and all that kind of stuff, but, I would go there. That was not a cigar lounge.
No, it's more of a bar.
That was a bar.
Yeah.
So in over 30 years of enjoying cigars, I had always had a lounge to go to every place that I lived. I moved to Nebraska in 2014. So basically, I would drive to Omaha and go to Safari Cigars all the time, because that was the closest lounge. There was no lounge in Lincoln. So what I wanted to do was, to Austin's point, the store was now about, 1,400 square feet?
Yeah, 14.
We were going to cut the store in half. 700 square feet was going to be the front, the humidor, and we were going to put a private lounge in the back and just sell some lockers, 15, 20 people. Mm-hmm. We would have access whenever we wanted, because we were going to convert the back door into a keypad so the people can come in. And that's what we started to do. So we hired, engineers, ventilation system. We had it all planned out. And then the next door neighbor, she owned an Indian restaurant. Anyway, she said no. She started complaining to the landlord. Oh, there'd be cigar smoke, and we had everything planned out in terms of the way to keep the smoke on our side. Mm-hmm. And initially he told us yes, and then he changed his mind and said no.
Yeah, so...
But you already put a little bit of money into that.
Yeah. Absolutely, we had, yeah.
Oh, sure. So that was going pretty much from October 1st to the end of 2017.
Yeah.
And then at that point, once Tony and I realized we couldn't stay in the same location, we started looking across town. Where do we go? We wanted to stay in Southwest Lincoln, close to where the current store was. And it was really by happenstance.
Yeah.
I lived in Southwest Lincoln. I was driving home, and where our existing location is at 15th and Old Cheney, I saw a locksmith or sign was coming down. I flipped around, drove in, and ran into David Olson, who owned several of the buildings in that development. And when I met David, he's like, no, the space is leased already, but he said, I just finished this building. It's not even on the market. Why don't we walk over here? And walked in, and exact location we're at today. And I called Tony. I said, hey, I think we found the spot. I think Tony canceled his schedule, came down to the space, and we toured around and told David we wanted the space on the spot.
We did. Yep.
Because what was there?
Nothing.
Okay.
No, it was a brand new building.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah, it was dirt. It was just a shell, and it was dirt. And we looked at each other and said, this is it. So in the dirt, we wrote, we're a Capital Cigar Lounge where friends would enjoy friends, and we started to craft the values in the dirt right there.
Yeah, and I've seen that on your website. Yeah. Very, very nice, nicely done.
Yeah.
So is it hard to open a cigar lounge in Lincoln? Because I remember hearing some things, but I don't want to speak out of turn. But
Yeah,
because
it's hard. It's a
yeah,
hard
you're
market.
smoking inside.
yeah. There's several facets that made a challenging opening. So part of Capital Cigar is a private lounge. That was a new concept to Lincoln. So we spent additional time with the city administration, educating them on what we're trying to do, making sure we're following regulations. We had to get not a special exemption, but the city really created a new guideline that would fit into. So we spent time on that. We had several challenges through construction, from not needing sprinkler systems to needing sprinkler systems. And as a brand new business, we're talking about 5-figure bills that we're not accounted for, right? So you go from we're opening, we're ready to start making some money, to hey, here's another $60,000 bill because of a discrepancy. So we went through what I think a lot of business.
Not a discrepancy on our part either.
Correct.
Discrepancy on the city's part.
Brand new rules and stuff.
Put that
Just
in
to
the
clarify,
podcast.
we'll clip that out and send it.
Yeah.
Send it out.
So we went through a lot of stuff over the years as we've talked to other business owners, Lincoln, Omaha, right? Take wherever it is, right? The challenges are unique, but there's always challenges. Add in alcohol, cigars are regulated. There's additional work we had to do there. For a first business for both of us, going from a cold shell to a finished space and, setting everything up, there's a number of things I think we learned the hard way.
We did. Yeah. And, to Austin's point, the concept, it wasn't just the concept of a private lounge, but it was a concept of allowing people access 20 hours a day. Initially we asked for 24/7, 7 days a week. And so I remember one of the city councilmen said, so you mean to tell me you're going to let people come in the building and there's alcohol in the building and there's not going to be an employee in there to serve them? And I said, well, somewhat, but let me explain to you the way this works. So we had used technology that when the business would close, there were magnets that would secure. And so if you were in the private lounge, you couldn't get out to the front of the public lounge, which is where the alcohol was. And they still didn't believe that that was the right thing to do. So we shared with them other concepts around the country that had done it before. And then I actually had lunch with each one of the city council folks, showed them the technology to assure them that those magnets actually work. They're on a timer, and you can't get out to the front. So by the time we got to the city council and had to go through, the process, we got all 7 votes. We had no opposition. But that doesn't happen if we don't take the time to explain to the city council and to the mayor at the time this brand new concept that had never been done before in the state.
Yeah.
So the education was very critical, you think, in getting that through?
Without question. That if you just look at it on the surface, not only would you say you can't do it, you would say it's illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Illegal. You can't have public in a building that has a liquor license and not have an employee in there to serve the liquor. On the surface, it's illegal. So without education, without explanation, without, God's grace, it don't happen.
Okay, well, now I have questions. So the lounge part that they could go into without an employee there.
Yeah, that's the private lounge.
So the private lounge.
That's a membership.
And
Have you ever been there, Joe?
I haven't. No.
It is
Yeah.
so cool.
Yeah.
The vibe is so awesome.
So
it is
if I'm
relaxed.
I need to just chill out and go smoke a cigar. Is that's the idea for the private lounge?
Yeah, so if you're a private lounge member, you can come in through the back door, which is a private door. There you have GeoKey, which is kind of like a digital key. It will unlock the door, and you can come in, and we have a conference room. We have very comfortable chairs. We have your cigar lockers with your nameplate. We have pop, water, and coffee. And, of course, there are 2 72-inch TVs, one in the conference room, one in the lounge itself. But you can't have alcohol because there's nobody there.
Yeah.
And you can't bring alcohol in. But the concept around the private lounge was to have like-minded business people to be able to engage with each other. And there's a sign back there that says, sit with winners, the conversation is different, # relationships matter. And we knew that there was a segment of business people that wanted a space to be able to discuss business.
Well, what kind of hours are we talking about then?
So you can come in at 6 a.m. in the morning,
Okay.
and then you have to be gone by 2 a.m. So you have 20 hours.
Okay.
Supposedly you have to, 6 a.m. comes from, that's when you can start selling alcohol in Nebraska because of Husker football games. Yeah, and that's something.
Okay, I'm
Yeah,
caught
so
up
you
now. Yeah.
so you can come in at 6 a.m. But what we'll say is, if you look at our list of members, we got over 82 members. I mean, I can say, easily in the 6 years that we've been open, there's been probably close to $30 million B2B, person to person. Because when you sit down and you enjoy a cigar, you typically gain some level of trust because you're spending time together. It's not something you can do very fast. And the member comes in and you got bankers, you got construction folks, you got politicians having a cigar together. All of a sudden you strike up a conversation and then they end up doing business together. Then they take it to the conference room and sign the contract.
Nice.
I like that.
Yeah.
And I haven't been to the private lounge, but I have
Chris.
been to the public
we can fix
one.
that.
We can fix
I
that.
think we should.
We can get you a membership.
I live very close, so because I do go in there, occasionally. You're always there.
Yeah. Yeah. They're pretty often.
You're very nice. You've always said hello, stopped to talk, and you have
Sure.
your smoking jacket on, and I'm like, that guy just looks cool.
He's got a smoking jacket too.
But the whole place is just very business, but relaxed. That's what
that was really the intent. We said, listen, Capital Cigar Lounge will be a place where friends enjoy friends, and our values are treat customers like friends because relationships matter, create an unparalleled experience with every visit. We wanted to hire staff that was professional while having fun, and we operate for the greater good of the community. So our teammates, Jeff Fry and Derek Bell, they basically, are there on site all the time, especially Derek. But when we hire to those values. So we hire people that fit into that value system, and we run, pretty disciplined staff meetings that we talk through the numbers, and so it's a level of intentionality around running a business, but making sure that people are having fun. We want the Capital Cigar Lounge to feel like your living room. Like you're just walking into your home.
If you had a badass living room, I mean, it's not.
Pretty cool living room.
So let's go back even further. How did we get into cigars? Like, how did that become part of you guys?
I was going to
Yeah.
ask that too, because Tony, you sound like you've always been a cigar guy, but coming for Austin, just walking into a cigar shop and be like, I'm going to
this seems cool.
this. Do you have a history of cigars? Like, are you
Just family gatherings. Guys would get together, smoke cigars, talk shop. My mother's side of the family ran a pretty large farming operation. Ogallala is home for us, so we were used to getting together all the time. Guys would smoke cigars, so I grew up doing that. Coming to Lincoln for school, my older cousin was going to UNL at the same time, so we just started doing the same thing. When we get together, we'd smoke cigars, catch up, and what brought me to Capital Cigar was a really roundabout way. I was traveling out in Pennsylvania, a lot of large cigar shops out there, and walked into a store, and I didn't know anything at the time. And this was 6 months before purchasing the store. And I walked in, I was like, I've heard about this brand called Cohiba. Is it a good brand? I don't know anything about it. And for whatever reason, the guy at the store said, well, if you're looking at spending that dollar point, why don't you go to this brand called Viaje?
Viaje.
Come to find out, Viaje was a boutique brand. I don't know how many cigars they made, but it was a very, very limited amount.
That's right.
So smoke a cigar, come back after the trip, smoke the cigar. I'm like, this is a great cigar. I wanted to buy more. And how I found Capital Cigar Company was going on their website, finding authorized retailers, and Capital Cigar Company was the only retailer in the state of Nebraska at that time.
Nebraska, they have Viajes. Yep.
And I went to the store, met Don, as Tony mentioned, and that's how I got introduced.
Was Don planning on selling it, or you just like, hey?
No, Don was selling. I just happened to come in on a Friday afternoon after class, and he was talking to someone else there about selling the business, and I didn't think much about it. And I went home for spring break, or I was doing something, and I think I just mentioned it to my dad, and he's like, why don't we go through and value it? I'll help you price the business and see if it's a good opportunity for you. And went through that exercise and ended up purchasing it.
Right. And then Don just took off.
He took off, man. Don just took off.
Vamoose. We need to know where he's at. We need to find Don, I think.
We know where he's at.
Yeah. I think he ended up finding it. I think he's in Boca Raton. So
Yeah, he's
nice.
He opened another shop down there.
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
So now, expanding, have you guys thought about a second location here or somewhere else or anything?
So we opened almost exactly 6 years ago. So it was towards the end of 2018. We get through our first full year. COVID starts ramping up. At that time, I don't know if it was a week later or 2 weeks later, we got connected with Mall of America. We were going to open a retail store at Mall of America.
In New Jersey.
We flew out to New Jersey.
We did, yeah.
The Five Diamond team was constructing that project as well, which is an American Dream. It was a super high-end luxury version of MOA. We were going to sign a lease there as well. Tony came from Dallas, so we spent a lot of time in Dallas, and we were working on 3 locations at the same time.
We were, yeah.
Looking back, it's a blessing we didn't do any of them because it would have sunk us. I mean, Mall of America lease rates are $220 a square foot. As a comparable around Lincoln, right, you're talking about in the teens.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if we would have signed those, I mean, not being able to have customers in those malls, still having to pay the rent, it would have been devastating. So we started that process early on. We spent a lot of time through operations. Tony and I spent a lot of time early on building out the right process to run Capital Cigar Lounge like a real business, and building it in a way we could duplicate and open multiple locations. So none of that obviously happened, but it was about a year later we got connected with Paul West and started talking about a concept of a Capital Cigar Lounge in Omaha.
Now, mind you, Paul would drive from Omaha to Lincoln because he enjoyed coming to Capital Cigar Lounge. So, Paul.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. He really did. He really did. And, Paul wanted to do a Capital Cigar-like concept in Omaha. So, I'll let you take it from there, Austin.
Yeah. So, Paul came in a couple times. We got to know him, and he walked out, and he was like, hey, if you guys ever want to do this in Omaha, why don't we chat? And I think I called Paul the next day and started bugging him until he said yes. And then we started going through the idea of what today is Apiary Social Club. But back then it was, Paul shares a similar love of cigars, and we were focused on opening a cigar lounge. And we spent 6 to 8 months looking at real estate. We had a very specific part of Omaha we wanted to go to. Couldn't find any property to lease. We couldn't find any land to purchase. And it just so happened Aaron Gunderson with the Gunderson Jewelers, they purchased land in Heartwood Preserve. They were using the same broker company, Cressa Development, that we were working with to try and find space to lease. And we got a call from Aaron one day saying, hey, you guys want to build next to us? I bought extra land. I think this would be a great concept. And that was beginning of 2022, I think. And then we started down that process of new building, new concept, everything we wanted to build throughout that.
Is that one as cool as the one in Lincoln, or probably not?
Well,
no.
It's Apiary. You got to think, Chris, Apiary, I mean, Omaha's a different market.
It is.
So this is, to Austin's point, we looked at some of the things that we could have done differently in Lincoln. Apiary is probably one of the nicest lounges in the world. I mean, it is a 10-star. You'll see it on the website. It's a 10-star lounge.
I'm going to go see it in person.
You need to come see this in person. So there are 4 partners in this business in the Capital Cigar Lounge. So you got to think, we go from 500 square feet to 1,400 to 3,600 at Capital to almost 10 at Apiary. And the Apiary concept is one of the things Austin and I said to Paul. So our other partner is a guy named Charlie Yen. He owned all the Hero 88s. In Lincoln and Omaha. We said it should be an all-private model because of the recurring revenue factor. The great part about Capital Cigar Lounge is that private lounge is recurring revenue. People, our friends pay us a quarterly due for the privilege of being able to spend time in the private lounge. So we said Apiary should be all private so that we have recurring revenue. That's number one. Number two, we said instead of doing a public lounge and a private lounge, part of it should be us a cocktail lounge, because no matter what, listen, we've got a great ventilation system. I mean, that's part of our value proposition in both spaces. It's an air intake system that not only pulls smoke out, but it pumps multiple tons of cubic air in from the outside. The Capital Cigar Lounge was the first in the state to have a system like this. And it creates almost like hospital-grade air in there. So when you go in, you don't see a lot of standing smoke. The one at Apiary is like times 10. So, but no matter how great the ventilation system is, some people don't want to be around smoke. And if you think about the market, there's a larger market for people that enjoy cocktails and fine wine than there is for cigars. So Apiary, half of it is a cocktail lounge. The other half is a cigar lounge, and then there's an upscale conference room, and then there's a beautiful 2,000 square foot terrace that overlooks where there's going to be an amphitheater. And right in front, you have Mahogany and Charleston Restaurant. So
that sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Okay, so let's do that here then too.
No, not in.
You didn't even give it a chance.
Apiary would never work in the Lincoln market. This is
I don't know. I'd go.
This is a college blue collar. Chris, this is a college blue collar market, which is cool. You know, it's cool. We love our friends here.
We like it when they leave for the summer too.
Right,
So,
right.
we
That's
get
right.
Well, I know you have to get going, but you want to go ahead with your last segment then?
Yeah, sure. You know, being Brand Lincoln podcast, we like to know what you two like to do around
Sure.
Lincoln entertainment wise, or restaurants that you like to visit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you know, for me and my wife Kim, we're Momos. I mean, we love Momos, man. That's Momos too. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, we live on the east side of town, so Casa Bovina, Tony, Kim, and I, we all eat at the same places, though.
Yeah. We made a Casa Bovina too. The Pede family.
Yeah.
Pretty
So-
cool.
Yeah.
So we have a baby at home, so I've come to find out the social calendar
Yeah.
slams down a little.
Yeah.
They're
little-
fun
little-
ruiners.
Little Rowan.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was an incredible story. I would probably talk to you for another hour, but again, you know, I know you guys got to go. So
Yeah, it's all good. But you know, I think I'd like to say that Austin and I, people say that we were an unlikely partnership, but it has been wonderful. You know, not only just being his partner, but you know, watching him grow from a 21-year-old young man to now he's a real grown man with a family.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, our partnership has grown, our friendship has grown. You know, and we are family. You know, we take this Capital Cigar Lounge very seriously in terms of what we do, the way we treat people. You know, our staff. It's really all about culture. You know, the vision for Austin and I with the Capital Cigar Lounge was, the headline was never about cigars and booze. That wasn't the headline. The headline was, how do we create a space, a venue, where people can come and spend time together? Because in this age of digital, where you have text messaging and social media, people don't talk anymore. And because people don't talk, then you have this significant polarization. But at the Capital Cigar Lounge, you can't smoke a cigar fast. And when you come in and you sit down, then you see people talking. The pods that we put in place were very intentional. And so you can see very rich people and people that may not be as rich. You don't know what their social economic status is because they're all enjoying a cigar together. Kim and I often talk about her grandfather and one of our members, and he's a 85-year-old black man, and this was a white man who we don't know what he does, but he does something really special. But when our grandmother passed away, they connected. Who would know a black man from Mineola, Texas, and a white man from Lincoln, Nebraska, who does something very, very confidential for the country, would become dear friends. And that happens over a cigar. So what we knew is that this space would be a place where people could come together, friends would enjoy friends. And oh, by the way, through conversation, you actually find out you have more in common than you do apart. And that's really what the world needs.
that was spectacular. All right. And with that, thank you very much for coming.
You're welcome.
Can't end it on a better note. Mic drop. We're out. Thank you, everybody.